A man I know sold his house up in Ohio, cashed out a lifetime of equity, and bought himself a 40-foot trawler down in Florida. In his head, he'd just swapped a mortgage for a boat and a slip, and everything after that was sunsets and cheap diesel. 18 months later, he was sitting in the cockpit with a calculator in one hand and a shoebox of receipts in the other, gone white as a sheet. Here's the part that got him. The boat itself had cost him almost nothing to own. It was everything that came after the purchase that quietly drained his retirement right down to the studs. And nobody warned him. The broker didn't. The smiling couple in the brochure sipping coffee on the back deck sure didn't. Now, living aboard a trawler is one of the best lives a person can choose, and I'm not here to talk you out of it. But there is a bill that comes with it that nobody puts on the listing, and if you walk onto that dock not knowing the real number, the dream turns into the most expensive mistake of your retirement. So let's add it up. All of it. The way nobody else will. Start with the thing everybody thinks they understand, the slip. When folks dream about this life, they picture a quiet little marina and a few $100s a month to tie up. And in some sleepy corner of the country, that's true. But the marinas where people actually want to live, the ones near the warm water, near the grocery store, near the doctor, those marinas know exactly what they've got. A liveaboard slip for a 40-foot boat in a decent spot in Florida or California will run you anywhere from $600 to well over $1,000 a month. And the nice ones have a waiting list a year long. Then comes the part they bury in the fine print. The liveaboard surcharge. A lot of marinas charge you extra, sometimes a couple $100s a month extra, just for the privilege of sleeping on your own boat. Some won't let you live aboard at all. Others cap how many liveaboards they'll allow, and you sit on a list behind a dozen other retirees waiting for somebody to die or move ashore. So before you've bought a single gallon of diesel, before you've turned a key, you're looking at $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 a year just for a place to park. That's the rent on the water nobody mentions. Now, insurance. And this is the one that's blindsiding people right now. It used to be you could get an old trawler covered for a reasonable number and never think about it again. That world is gone. The carriers have been hammered by storm after storm, and they have pulled way back. They do not want to write a policy on a 40-year-old boat with a single owner living aboard full-time.
The ones that still will want a recent survey, they want proof you actually know how to handle the boat, and they want a premium that has doubled or tripled in just a few years. I know liveaboards paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year now for coverage that cost them $1,200 not long ago. And some folks open the renewal letter to find the company has dropped them outright, and now they're scrambling, calling broker after broker, because a marina won't let you keep the boat in the slip without proof of insurance. That letter has ended more liveaboard dreams than any engine failure ever did. Then there's the haul out. Every boat in saltwater grows a beard. Barnacles, slime, weed, all of it building up on the bottom, slowing you down and eating your hull. So once a year, maybe every other year if you're lucky, they pull your boat clean out of the water on a giant lift, set her up on stands, and go to work. The yard pressure washes the bottom, sands it down, rolls on fresh anti-fouling paint, swaps out the zinc anodes that keep your metal from corroding away, and checks the running gear. Sounds simple. It is not cheap. By the time you pay the lift fee, the labor, the paint, which is brutal money by the gallon, and whatever they find once she's out of the water and you can finally see the parts that have been hiding, you're looking at $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 easy. And here's the catch that gets people. They almost never just paint the bottom. Once that boat is up in the air, the yard finds the soft through hull, the tired cutlass bearing, the shaft that needs attention, the blister that wasn't there last year. The haul out you budgeted at $2,000 becomes a $5,000 weekend before you've even splashed her back in. This brings us to the rule every old salt on the dock already knows, and every newcomer learns the hard way.
Plan on spending roughly 10% of the boat's value every single year just keeping her the way she is. Not improving her, not adding a thing, just standing still. So that $80,000 trawler everyone told you was such a bargain? Figure $8,000 a year, year in and year out, in maintenance alone. And that's if nothing major lets go. On a boat, things let go. The old-timers even have a word for it. They call it a boat unit. And a boat unit is $1,000, because that's the smallest number anything on a boat ever seems to cost. The water pump goes, that's a boat unit. The starter, the alternator, a hose that splits at the worst moment, the refrigeration that quits in August, the autopilot that gives up 2 days into a passage. Every one of those is $1,000 and a Saturday, if you do it yourself. If you call a marine mechanic, you can take that number and double it, because the going rate to have a man in a uniform come fix your boat is well north of $150 an hour. And that clock starts the second he leaves the shop. Now diesel. This is the one place the trawler actually earns its reputation, but even here there's a catch. A full displacement trawler moving slow, the way she was built to move, sips fuel. 1 gallon, maybe 1.5 gallons an hour at 7 or 8 knots. That's the honest number, and it's a beautiful number. But here's what nobody tells the dreamer. The slower you go, the longer everything takes. A trip that a fast boat does in an afternoon takes you 2 long days, and you're burning fuel and running systems the whole time. And the day the weather turns and you have to push that boat hard to get somewhere safe, the fuel gauge spins like a slot machine. Then there's the diesel you burn standing still. The generator that runs your air conditioning through a Florida summer. The heater that keeps you alive through a Chesapeake winter. People forget the boat eats fuel even when she's tied to the dock going absolutely nowhere. And here's a whole category the brochure never shows you. The plain business of being a human being on a boat. Your water doesn't come from a tap that runs forever. You either fill a tank at the dock and ration it, or you run a water maker. And a water maker is a few boat units to buy and a constant fuss to maintain. Your toilet, they call it a head, runs into a holding tank, and that tank has to be pumped out, either at a station or by a boat that comes around and charges you for the favor. Your refrigeration is small. It's hungry for power, and it dies more than anything else aboard. You're hauling laundry to a marina machine or a laundromat down the road. You're carrying groceries down a long dock in the rain. None of these are huge numbers on their own, but they are constant. They never stop, and they add up to real money and real time every single week of your life aboard. And don't forget how you actually get around once you leave the dock. The moment you anchor out to save on those slip fees, your car becomes a dinghy, a little inflatable boat with an outboard motor hanging off the back. That dinghy is a few $1,000s to buy, the outboard is a few thousand more, and the saltwater chews through both of them. It's the most stolen, most neglected, most expensive little piece of the whole operation, and every liveaboard ends up replacing one. People budget for the big boat and completely forget the small one that does all the actual work of getting you to shore and back. Then there's power, the heartbeat of the whole boat. Everything aboard runs off a bank of batteries, and batteries do not last forever.
A proper house battery bank for a liveaboard trawler is a serious investment, and you'll be replacing it every handful of years. Add solar panels to ease the load, that's more money up front. The inverter that turns your battery power into something your coffee maker can use, the charger, the wiring, all of it ages. All of it eventually needs attention. And the electronics, the chart plotter, the radar, the radios, the autopilot, every one of those is happy to fail the week you finally want to take a long trip. And marine electronics are priced like they're made of gold. Now here's a cost that doesn't show up as a monthly bill, but it might be the biggest one of all. The boat is going down in value the whole time you own her, and the day you want out, you may not be able to get out. We are in a market right now where used trawlers are sitting at the docks for a year, 2 years, 3 years because the buyers dried up. The retirees who'd buy your boat are aging out of the lifestyle, the banks won't finance an old hull, and there are more boats for sale than there are people who want them. So you can find yourself owning a boat you can no longer use and cannot sell, still writing that slip check every month, still paying that insurance, watching the value bleed out while she just sits there. That's not a maintenance bill, that's a trap, and it has caught a lot of good people who never saw it coming. If this is the kind of straight talk you came here for, the stuff the broker in the polo shirt is hoping you never hear, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I put one of these out every week. No hype, no nonsense, just the real numbers. Now let me get to the part that actually matters, because I am not here to scare you off the water. Beyond the dollars, there's a set of costs nobody warns you about because they don't fit neatly on a spreadsheet.
Your mail doesn't have a home anymore, so you're paying a service to receive it and forward it, or leaning on family. You need a state to call your domicile for your license, your taxes, your voting, and for your insurance, and sorting all that out is its own headache. Your healthcare gets complicated when you're moving up and down a coast, finding doctors in towns you've never set foot in. And then there's the weather. When a hurricane is bearing down on the coast, your house can't move, but it also can't be destroyed by 6 feet of storm surge and 40 other boats breaking loose around it. You'll spend money and sleepless nights stripping the canvas, doubling up the lines, and deciding whether to run for it. That fear has a cost too, and it's a real one, and the brochure left it out entirely. So let's put a real number on it, the way nobody else will. Add up a liveaboard slip with the surcharge, the insurance, the diesel, the annual haul out, the bottom paint, the routine maintenance at 10% of the value, the boat units that fall out of the sky, the pump outs and the batteries and the laundry and the long dock and the dinghy. For a 40-foot trawler lived aboard full-time in a part of the country you'd actually want to be in, you are realistically looking at somewhere between $15,000 and $25,000 a year. Some folks do it leaner, anchored out, away from the expensive marinas, turning every wrench themselves, and they get it down. Plenty of folks blow right past it, but that's the honest middle, and it's a number that has no relationship at all to the price painted on the for sale sign. The purchase price was just the down payment on the dream. This is the actual cost of living it. Now here's the good news, because there is plenty of it. Every single one of those numbers can be managed if you walk in with your eyes open. And that's the whole reason I made this. First, buy the simple boat. The whole point of an old full-displacement trawler is that one slow, naturally aspirated diesel, a Ford Lehman, a Perkins, a Cummins, the kind of engine a man can service himself in his own slip with a wrench and a part number off the shelf. The simpler the boat, the smaller every bill on this list gets, because you become your own mechanic instead of feeding a marine yard $150 an hour. Second, learn to do the work. The owner who changes his own oil, paints his own bottom when the yard lets him, and troubleshoots his own systems isn't spending 10%. He's spending a fraction of it, and he's never stranded waiting 3 weeks for a technician with a laptop. Third, and this is the big one, run the real number before you buy, not the asking price. Sit down and add up the slip, the insurance, the haul out, the maintenance, the realistic deferred repairs, every line we just talked about. If that annual number works on your income, then go, and go with my blessing, because this is a wonderful life. If it doesn't work, you just saved yourself from the most expensive lesson on the dock. Because here's the truth the brochure will never tell you. The trawler was never the expensive part. The boat just sits there, simple and honest, asking very little of you. It's the water around it that costs the money, the slip and the storms and the salt and the things that wear out because the sea is always trying to take its boat back. The folks who thrive out here aren't the ones who found the cheapest boat. They're the ones who knew the real number before they signed, budgeted for it, and learned to turn their own wrenches. Get that right, and a liveaboard trawler is the best value home and the finest life a retired person can buy.
Get it wrong, and it's a beautiful boat slowly eating everything you worked 40 years to save. So before you sell the house and chase the sunset, do the math the broker won't. Now I want to hear from you. Are you dreaming about living aboard? Already out there doing it? Or did you try it and come back ashore? Tell me your real yearly number down in the comments, because somebody reading this is about to make the leap, and your honesty might be the thing that saves them. And if this was the straight talk nobody else gave you, subscribe and stick around, because next week I'm naming the exact trawlers that cost the least to live aboard, and the ones that'll bleed you dry. I'll see you on the dock.